Limbo Lodge by Joan Aiken, Chapter 3.
Tylo, said Dido, what does everybody in this town wear black?
Tylo smiled with a flash of large white teeth. He was a golden brown boy, short, about Dido's height, with short black curly hair, a forest person. His costume, like that of the small men on the dock, was close-fitting knee-length black cotton trousers and nothing else.
Why? Because 3 time back, old Sovereign King John, he lose he wifey. Irato, much loved wifey. So says he, all now grieve till I say, quit grieving.
And he hasn't said that yet, Tylo sighed and spread out his hands.
Old Sovereign King John, very, very sad sick man.
How long is 3 time?
Till Jajila tree grow full size.
Since Dido had not the least idea how long a Dajila tree grew, or took to grow, this did not help.
What is a Dajila tree? Are there any round here?
Tylo shook his head.
Not in town, in plantation. Dajila tree much costly. Nobody allowed to grow them. Only old sovereign King John.
Yes, said Dido. Now I remember Captain Sanderson talking about Dajila spice. It costs 20 guineas for a thimbleful. No other islands have the trees, only our 2. And King John brought the seeds from no one knows where. Is that right?
Right as rainbow. Tylo grinned again. Only us have Gila, and only Sovereign John grow the Gila tree. Anybody else plant a Gila tree in backyard, he quick time throw off cliff of death.
Croupus, said Dido. What's the cliff of death?
On Furra Mountain, 19 hours walk from Regina town.
This town where we are now?
Yes, Shaki miss. Sovereign King John live on Furra Mountain in Limbo Lodge.
I guess you know the whole island very well.
Like palm of my foot, he said cheerfully. Tylo, everybody says. Optimus guide. The gut. Molto bene. Ooh la la. Bueno. Speak our language most perfect.
And you know where Lord Harrisfoot is just now?
My Lord Aucklash. For some reason, Tylo burst out laughing at the very thought of Lord Harrisfoot, then covered his mouth with his hand, slipping his eyes away politely, and added, Easy go there for me, Shaki miss. Go to Sorgo dream easy. Lord Aucklash now sitting outside the house of my father's Sisingana. He Halmahai.
Sisingana?
He thought and explained. Father's father.
Your great-great-grandpa?
Golly likely. Dido found that when Tylo was not certain of an answer, this was the phrase he used. It seemed a handy one to her. When she asked how long it would take to reach the Sisingana's house, Tylo said, 4 hour, golly likely, forest very thick. There are ways, if rain come, thicker, take longer, through night maybe.
Does much rain fall here?
Now and now, then and then. This talk had brought them to the top of the hill, where the houses of Regina town stopped and a dirt track ran on across a hillside, mostly covered with low-growing shrubs. Looking back, Dido saw how the town fell away steeply behind them, white-roofed houses set snugly like ivory dice among green plummy trees, and the harbor at the bottom like a blue keyhole. With the Sawara, a toy ship, tethered against the dock, there seemed to be a tremendous amount of activity on the dockside. Hundreds of tiny black figures the size of ants rushed back and forth.
How hard they're working down there, Dido said, and Tylo, frowning, made no reply for a minute, then said,
Maybe storm come. We best get on our way. Here, bring come horses. The horses, led up another track by a wizened old man, were small, sturdy animals with shaggy coats. Dido had never ridden on a horse in her life and hoped the beasts had calm dispositions. Hers, luckily, appeared to have a placid nature, to know its business and be willing to follow Tylo's mount. They were equipped with saddlebags, which Dido hoped had food in them. She'd eaten rather a scanty breakfast in Manuel's house. where she did not feel welcome, and the prospect of a 4-hour or longer ride to their destination and then the same ride back to Regina Town sounded like a long day's excursion, especially if they were obliged to stop overnight. Also in the saddlebags were gauze mosquito nets. "You want for forest," Tylo said, showing Dido how to wrap it round her. Many bugs, very bitey." "What about the sting monkeys?" He laughed. "Folly cub! You no hurt Folly cub, he no hurt you. Scared of shadow, always frightened. There now, see?" They were passing a large, gnarled, gray-leaved tree, standing solitary at the side of the track. Among its branches, Dido could see a lot of energetic carryings-on as they approached, small creatures about the size of rabbits, leaping from bough to bough and chattering shrilly. "Watch, see now," said Tylo. He dismounted, holding his reins, found a fist-sized stone, and hurled it into the tree. Instantly, with wild shrieks and shrill yammerings, the whole population of the tree leapt out of the branches and fled away in terror over the scrubby ground. They were, Dido saw, small whitish-gray monkeys with long feathery fur and active plumy tails. Their faces, black-ringed, were triangular, and their large eyes pale blue. "He sting you only by bad chance," Tylo explained, remounting. "And just as well, by golly, for if he sting, you die." "Golly likely." "No, just you die." "You got can-do nuts?" Tylo asked, evidently reminded of this by the other peril they were likely to encounter. "Can-do nuts? Oh, scrape it," Dido said, remembering that Captain Sanderson had advised always carrying some for protection against snakebite. "When I left the ship, I didn't expect to go gallivanting straight away into the back of beyond." "No matter, I got in saddlebag." Tylo looked ahead along the track, frowned, and said, "Here now, we got ride quick. You golly likely ride quick, shocky miss, like this." He kicked his pony into a fast canter, and Dido followed. In fact, she found this easier than trotting, which was very bumpy. She stuck on grimly. "Yes, all rug," he called. "Oh, yes, all rug," she called. "But what's up, Tylo?" He made no answer, but kicked his pony on even faster. They galloped at full tilt past a group of people under a tree. Dido was so occupied with sticking onto her mount that she did not see what was happening, but heard a lot of shouting, and then one thin, piteous wail quickly cut short. Next minute, they had passed some craggy rocks and were out of sight round a bend in the track. The road began to slope downhill into a valley full of trees. Tylo slowed to a trot, then to a walk. "What was happening back there, Tylo?" Dido demanded. "Bad business, shocky miss, not I do. Only best ride past, ride away quick." Dido thought with deep worry, which for the past hour she had been trying to push to the bottom of her mind, of Dr. Talisman, hauled off to jail by that tough-looking party of civil guards. What was happening to her? "Where is the jail, Tylo?" she asked. "My friend is there. Soon we come." The road ran into a dale where trees grew close together, planted in orderly rows. Some were tall, green, and feathery. Others were thickly covered with dark red flowers. The sweet scent that came from them was so powerful that although Dido enjoyed it at first, after a while she found it almost too much, too painful. Breathing became hard work. "Jail," said Tylo, nodding toward a large building in the middle of the grove. "Not Dame Jail, though. We call House of Correction." The House of Correction, a title which Dido thought even nastier than jail, was long and white, with narrow barred windows and a wall round it. A few civil guards lounged about the entrance. Others could be seen near wooden huts scattered among the trees. Dido thought about Dr. Talisman. Was she in that building? What was happening to her? Would there be a trial, a judge? "Now you listen me, shocky miss," said Tylo when they had ridden on toward the end of the valley. We're still among the planted trees, but not inside of the House of Correction. "You want leave word for your friend? She soon be free again. Shocky Manuel, he soon fix. You say you know that?" Evidently, Tylo was not fooled by Talisman's disguise. "So, Cap Sanderson said. But can you leave a message there, Tylo?" He grinned cheerfully. "Everybody know no harm, Tylo. One guard, my father's sister's son. Not much forest person there, but some. You wait here, shocky miss. I leave talk message. You got word paper speak?"
No, I've no paper on me. Wait, though, yes, I have. In her pocket, she had Talisman's little notebook. She pulled it out and leafed through it to see if there were any blank pages. At the front, in neat, elegant script, was the name Jane Talisman Curlingshaw. Then followed beautifully drawn little diagrams and numbered instructions. Then what looked like patterns embellished with little figures, some human, some animal. Then lists of herbs and medicines. At the end were a few empty pages. Dido tore one out and wrote, luckily she had a pencil stub, "Your book is safe. Hop you are all, Rug. Hop to see you soon. Dido." There. She gave it to Tylo, then, for safety, tucked away the notebook inside her waistband. "Now, Shocky, miss. You stay here, just here, soon back." Tylo turned his pony and followed the track along which they had come. Was soon out of sight. Dido dismounted, threw her pony's reins over a branch so that he could graze, and sat under one of the red flowering trees. Tylo had told her they were clove trees, keeping a vigilant lookout for pearl snakes and sting monkeys. She could hear some monkeys in the branches overhead jabbering at each other, but she did not interfere with them, nor they with her. After 20 minutes or so, she began to feel desperately thirsty, and looked in the pony's saddlebag to see if it contained water. There were bread rolls and squashy dried figs and a water bottle, but it was empty, nothing to drink. Not far away, though, Dido thought she could hear water running. Maybe there's a brook, she thought. I won't go far. Through the trees, she could see that the side of the valley rose in a steep rocky wall. That was where the sound of water came from. Walking in that direction, Dido saw a little waterfall, spouting down between rocks into a pool below. The very sight of the white spray made her throat feel even drier. She hurried on, then came to a startled stop, when what she had taken for a rock at the side of the pool moved and lifted its head, and she realized it was a man sitting on the ground, wrapped in some kind of brown muffling garment. Now Dido could see 2 gaunt bare feet, like those of a scarecrow, extending stiffly from the draperies. He flung back the fold of cloth from his face and extended a flat wooden bowl, crying out in rusty Angrian, "Alms, senors, alms, for the love of heaven." Dido saw with dismay that he was blind. "Just the same," she thought, "this is a mighty queer place for a beggar to choose for his begging patch, ain't it? He can't expect many customers to pass by here. Still best give the poor cove a couple of pennies." She fumbled in her pocket where she had a few tiny coins. She was about to drop them into the begging bowl when the beggar grabbed her by the arm and jerked her off her feet. She yelled and knocked the man's hands away from her throat. They rolled together on the ground. Dido had managed to twitch herself away when the man pulled a long glittering knife out of his draperies. "Don't I just wish Tylo was here," Dido thought, pulling away to avoid the long eager blade which was wriggling its way toward her throat. "Why the plague did I ever leave the track?" With a quick wriggle and twist, she flung herself sideways out of the blind man's grip and kicked the knife from his hand. It whirled away and fell into the pond. The blind man made no attempt to go after it. He raised his voice in a high-cracked yell that set the monkeys in the trees screeching and gabbling. "Oh-hee! Oh-hee!" As if in instant answer to his call, 2 civil guards came strolling out of the grove. They carried pistols and wore an irritated air, as if they objected to being disturbed. They looked disapprovingly at Dido. One was fat, one thin. They were Angrians, tall and flat-faced. "Hola," the fat one said. "What goes on here?" And at once the blind man broke into a torrent of explanation in the Delindi language. "Hey," said Dido, "what's he telling you? I was putting money into his bowl when he went for me with a knife." "You, girl, can come with us to our hut. Wait for Captain," said the thin guard. "We see no knife." "Wait for Captain, hear what you say. Yes, you come now," said the fat guard. They marched Dido through the trees, prodding her with their pistols. The blind man, meanwhile, melted away into the shadows of the grove. Dido cursed herself in several different ways. Why had she not followed Tylo's instructions? Supposing the guards took her back to the town and found out that she was the girl who had helped Talisman with the operation, then a whole lot of time would be wasted. "Where are you taking me?" she said slowly and carefully. "We put you in hut, Shocky girl, till our relief come and tell Captain." The hut. When they reached it, it was small and wooden
Outside it, 2 stools and a bench with a jug and cups on it suggested that the guards had been enjoying a morning snack of palm wine. Dido wondered if they had a regular arrangement with the blind cutthroat who passed on to them any promising prey. He, Dido thought, was not Angrian, but not a forest person either, a mix perhaps. "I have no money," she said loudly. "We see, that we see." They turned out her pockets and appropriated the few coins they found. Dido was thankful she had stuffed Talisman's notebook inside her shirt. What's this, shocky girl?" This was a folded velvet cloth, embroidered over with lines and decorated with beads and sequins. It had been bequeathed to Dido by Mr. Brandywine, the drunken steward of the HMS Thrush, who had died of too much grog earlier in the voyage. "It's a game. You can use it for chess or fighting serpents." No, they contradicted. "The game you play on it is Senet. We know. You have game pieces you got?" "No, I don't. You can use black and white stones." We know that." One of the guards fetched a handful of white pebbles. The other opened the hut door. "You stop in there, shocky girl, till Captain come." Then he looked over Dido's shoulder into the hut and giggled. Both men were more than a bit drunk, Dido reckoned. "Oh-ho, we have a friend here, Andu," he hiccuped. "The shocky lady has a furry friend to keep her company." "So?" The other guard looked through the door. "Oh, so, a furry friend." Dido did not care for the sound of this. "Our furry friend will not trouble you if you stay quiet. Keep still, and he will not trouble you." "She, idiot." "It is a female. We give her a drink. Females like to drink." "Ah, they do, indeed they do." Hiccuping with laughter, the 2 men sloppily filled a bowl with palm wine and set it on the hut floor. "Now just keep still, shocky miss, and no harm will come to you." "Remember poor Tonio," the fat guard said in a thoughtful tone. "Yes, the poor lad, and how he turned blue. He swelled up and turned blue. He took a week screaming and dying. How he did scream. May he rest in peace," both men said. "Into the hut, shocky girl. Watch out for the furry friend." The door slammed behind Dido. Outside it, she could hear one of the guards saying, "Now you can be black and I shall be white." "No, caramba! We shall shake the dice for it." They began to quarrel. Dido stood quite still, looking hard about her. She let her eyes grow accustomed to the dusk inside the hut. It was tiny and completely bare, dirt floor, wooden walls, 2 slit windows high up, which let in a red light filtered through the clove blossoms. The door and the corners were in shadows. As Dido stood quietly leaning against the door, she thought she heard a shuffling, scraping sound in one corner. Looking attentively in that direction, moving her eyes only, she began to interpret the huddled shadow, and saw a frill of white fur, a darker triangle of face, 2 pale eyes. It was a sting monkey, flattening itself into the angle of the walls. It was terrified. "It's as scared of me as I am of it," thought Dido, "just so long as it don't panic." She stood as still as a post, trying to send mental messages to the creature. "I'm harmless, I'm friendly. I won't hurt you if you don't hurt me." "It's their tails," she remembered Captain Sanderson telling her. "Docked of its tail, a skin monkey would be as harmless as a kitten. But they are nervous. They flick the tail over their shoulder like a scorpion. That's why they're sometimes called scorpion monkeys. And if the sting touches you, you're done for, dead as mutton." Dido swallowed. She was still just as thirsty as she had been before, thirstier. So, it seemed, was the monkey. She could see its whiskers tremble as it smelt the liquor in the bowl. By infinitesimal creeping stages, it began to inch its way forward toward the drink it craved. "What's that liquor going to do to the beast?" Dido wondered. A cold trickle of sweat began to creep down between her shoulder blades. The monkey suddenly jumped forward, put its face down to the bowl, and began to drink in audible splashing swallows. "If only I had something to bash it with," thought Dido. But there was nothing in the hut, nothing at all. Outside, the voices of the 2 guards grew louder and louder as they argued about the game. The monkey had finished every drop in the bowl. It picked up the bowl in its 2 slender little black hands, tilting to pour out the last trickle. Then it dropped the bowl, which broke. Then it began to bounce up and down on all 4 feet. As if it were dancing, Dido thought. "Krupis, the beast's as drunk as a fiddler." The monkey began to whirl round and round. Its tail flew out. Like the sail of a windmill, Dido flattened herself against the wall. The men outside could evidently hear something of the monkey's actions. One of them called, "Are you well, Shocky, miss? Why don't you lie down and go to sleep? Captain won't come along for some while yet." Dido had no wish at all to go to sleep, but perhaps the monkey will dance itself into a stupor, she thought. Outside, the voices grew higher. "Ah, pig! That was the last of the wine you swallowed." Dido heard the thud of a blow, yells, and the crash of breaking pottery. Now inside the hut, another small noise was making itself audible. The very faintest dragging, as of a finger being stroked on polished wood. At first it was hard to locate because of the row outside, but soon Dido realized that it was coming from her right-hand side. She slanted her eyes in that direction without moving her head. She was not long in suspense about it. From the corner of her eye she saw it coming, the flat, gleaming, diamond-shaped head, with its metallic gray shine, the lean, whip-like black body. It slid along the wall, not fast, not slow, making obliquely for Dido's foot. "This hut," thought Dido, "is like a perishing zoo. It's a wonder those fellows out there don't charge for admission." It was not possible to stand any stiller, but she tried to do so. At the last minute, the snake changed direction slightly, so that only its final 2/3, a quivering, tensely drawn-out spring, poured across her foot. Its motion was always indirect, on a diagonal, like an endless series of interlocking S's, casual seeming but purposeful. It was making for the monkey, whose antics were beginning to slow down. "Do snakes eat monkeys?" Dido wondered. "Do monkeys eat snakes? I'm getting hysterical. There's too much action hereabouts. Guards bashing each other, with stools outside and a special benefit performance in here. Loser gets a shot of poison, winner gets the freedom of my ankle." The snake was circling the monkey warily. There was a short tactical pause, then an involvement so quick and so complete that Dido could not decide which had been the aggressor. The snake's metallic coils flicked to and fro. The monkey's tail whipped, curled up, and whipped again. If I weren't a coward, Dido thought, this would be the moment to jump on both of them hard and get a jab in each ankle. If I had a stick, anything but my bare hands. Her hands were behind her. She had kept them there, gripping the doorpost, distrusting their steadiness. The wooden jamb moved slightly as her fingers drove against it. She gave a push sideways, her heart suddenly leaping. A section of it came away. With a swift, resolute tug, she had a 3-foot joist in her hands, rotten at one end, ignoring the cloud of ant-infested dust that fell on her ankles. She held her weapon coolly, watching until the deadly skirmish on the floor came within reach. Then she bent down with all her strength, striking for the snake's head, which gripped the monkey's hind leg. The snake twisted away, writhing. She thought she had missed it, but it twisted back, coiled and recoiled in agonized jerks. The monkey lay limp in death. "Now, don't wait." The door had given, moved behind her when she pulled out the length of doorpost. She gave it a cautious shove, another more violent, then burst out, coming face to face with Tylo. "What? Wherever? Come away, quick! Quick, Shocky Miss! Not good here! Those men! Imrit Shashjalosh?" He fell into the Lindy language, evidently expressing something too bad to be said in English. "One of them hit the other on the head, so I hit him with the handle of gun." He nodded to where the guards lay collapsed among the wreckage of their jug and cups. The hot sun was drawing winey stream from the shards of earthenware. "You look very sick, Shocky Miss. What in there with you?" "Oh, just some wildlife," said Dido, gulping. "I'm sorry I didn't stop where you told me, Tylo. I was so thirsty. I went to drink from the brook. There's a blind man somewhere. Let's get away from here." She snatched up her velvet game cloth, which lay among a scatter of cowrie shells. Tylo tugged her, at a run, back to where the horses were tethered. No blind man was to be seen. Perhaps he had gone back to the station by the waterfall. "You still thirsty? Here." From the ground, Tyro pulled up a hard brown fruit, the size of a turkey's egg, which he expertly cracked on a stone, splitting it in two. Each half contained a mouthful of juice protected by a layer of white pith. "Drink, quick!" "It's prime," Dido said, gulping. If I'd only known." The juice was sour, fresh, wonderfully thirst-quenching. Next stream we fill our water bottles. That enough? Now we ride. Gallop quick. And that is the end of chapter 3.